This is the story of how I grew my product photography business from $0 to $30,000 a month in just 3 years. That's right, 3 years ago, I was taking pictures from my tiny one-bedroom apartment with nothing more than a camera, some cheap scrapbooking paper as backdrop, and some props that I picked up from TJ Maxx. Fast forward to today, and I'm making $30,000 a month from home with a dedicated studio space, working with premium skincare brands on 4 to 5 figure projects. And the craziest part, I didn't just get here by becoming a better photographer. That part comes naturally to everybody. I got here by learning how to build a real business, something many photographers unfortunately overlook. In this video, I'm going to share my entire journey of how I went from amateur photographer to successful business owner, including the exact strategies that allowed me to raise my rate, work less hours, and stop constantly chasing clients. So if you're tired of low-paying gigs, endless pitching, and feeling burnt out, then this is going to be the most important video you are going to watch all year. Let's get into it. My journey started when I graduated university with a marketing degree. See, I had a really deep understanding of how brands worked. In addition to having experience in cosmetic sales, I understood what goes into buying and selling of online goods, but I wasn't quite ready to go into the corporate world. Well, you see, both of my parents are self-employed, and that really inspired me to build something for myself. I really valued all of the things that came along with being your own boss, and that was what I wanted, but I just didn't have clear direction. Until one night I was scrolling on TikTok, funny enough, and I came across a video on product photography, and I felt like this light bulb went off in my head, and I knew that this was something I wanted to pursue. I also knew that entrepreneurs who act within 48 hours of getting an idea are 40% more likely to make money from it. So I acted, and I acted fast. I went to TJ Maxx and bought a bunch of props, and then went to the craft store and bought scrapbooking paper to use as backdrops because I had nothing else to use. And then the very next day, the only lighting I had was natural lighting from my window, and that's exactly what I used. I captured about 3 to 5 images, edited them the same day, and immediately started pitching to brands. My photos, they weren't the best. I wasn't focused on creating the best photos. I was just focused on creating something that looked halfway decent that brands might actually like. And when you're creating stuff for your portfolio, it's important to remember your photos don't have to be perfect. They just have to be better than the quality that the brands can produce, which quite frankly, aren't that hard to do. And so my business journey had officially begun. On the very first day of pitching to all of these different brands, I actually ended up landing my very first client right away. It really wasn't that hard. I didn't think much about the business side of things. I just went all in with what I knew and trusted my instinct, and it ended up being right. It was actually so right that we ended up scaling so big that I could bring my partner Ryan on the very first year, and we managed to bring in 6 figures from the start, which sounds great, but I ended up experiencing extreme burnout due to how much work that I was actually doing. I thought that more work meant more money and that was more success, but the problem was not having a clear business structure. My rates were so low that in order to make 6 figures, I had to completely slave myself away to bring in that kind of income. But being a business owner, you can't stop just because you're tired or you're having an off day. I had to push through the burnout and power through it, which led us right into year 2. Still on the same path to making 6 figures, but with a lot less love and energy into every project that we were taking. In addition to all of the overworking, our tiny 700 square foot space was everything in one. It was where we worked on the computer, where we slept, where we ate, where we took photos. It all compiled into one life. There was no separation from what was personal and what was business. This made it very difficult to take that business hat off and actually exist as a human with family, with a partner. And it resulted to a lot of late nights working, staying up until 10 o'clock, midnight even, just to get projects done and meet these insane deadlines. This is when we started to realize that this was successful, but not sustainable. And what is the point of success if you can't sustain it? We had to really dive into what all of our issues were and figure out a better path moving forward. And that's exactly what we did moving into year 3. So year 3 was a really big year, not just in our business, but also for us personally. We made a big switch and moved from Florida to North Carolina for several reasons, including the fact that we could get a larger home space, which allowed us to have our own dedicated studio space for about the same price as our one-bedroom apartment. But with the move, a lot of things happened in life and our business started to slow down. Things got a little scary, but I wasn't ready to jump back into the chaos that we had built previously. So this time around, we decided that we were going to do our business differently. Just because we had already been established and we had already found success doesn't mean you can't reevaluate the way that you actually work. So we had to ask ourselves some questions like, what did we want from this business? What did the personal life look like? What did the business life look like? how did we want that to be structured and feel day in and day out? How could we make more money but work less? How do we do it all more sustainably in a way that actually makes me want to get up, want to work, and still have that time to go do things that I want to do personally? So then ultimately, how could we build something that actually made us happy? And at the time when we asked ourselves these questions, we were still working solely with cosmetic brands. I started the business myself, and that's just the direction we went in. It was very pink, it was very feminine, it was very creative. But if we wanted to build a business that made us happy, it had to actually align with our lifestyle and with our personality. So Ryan actually had the genius idea of reshaping the entire business model and who we are targeting. We wanted to target premium brands, not low budget brands. We wanted to target people who valued quality, not people who valued quantity. And so we had to essentially redefine who our target market is, because what we were serving versus what we were wanting just did not align with each other. So during this process, we realized that we were both passionate about skincare. Their packaging is often premium, and that makes taking photos so much better when the packaging already looks good. The industry is growing so fast, and most importantly, these brands have deeper pockets because most of them consider themselves luxury. The price point that they sell each item at is higher, which means they have a better return on investment and they're willing to spend more and invest more to grow their businesses. So with this new target market, we had to actually rebrand our entire business. We had to say goodbye to the artistic style that I had. Though it was fun and it was beautiful, it was time for a change. And so we built a new website, we developed a new logo, and we created professional client packets that spoke to that premium brand we were targeting. Every touch point of our brand now felt premium, high-end, and expensive. So as you can guess, those were the exact types of brands we started to attract. The biggest takeaway that I learned from that is to treat your business bigger than it is. Even if you're doing it all by yourself and you have no help, you can still create a brand image that is larger than yourself. And when you're able to do that, you start to attract a different type of audience. And that audience respects you in a different type of way. You have more boundaries, you have more space, and you have more money. So once our rebrand was fully underway, it felt like all the stars were aligning. The very last thing before we could actually start pitching this new business to brands was to completely reshape our portfolio. But I couldn't just go out to these nice, expensive brands and ask them to work with us when our portfolio wasn't even catered to them yet. So we had to take a few steps backwards so that we could move forward. And by that, I mean we actually offered our services for free in exchange for products and testimonials. We captured pictures like this, and this, which completely reshaped our portfolio. So as soon as our portfolio was ready and we had the testimonials to back up our services, it was time to start pitching again. But this time we were targeting a different class of clientele. So this is when I developed our pitching templates, which became the bread and butter of our business. Within the first few months, we had made almost $20,000 just from pitching with these templates on Instagram. We then used all of the content that we created in these collections to build our social media presence around this new style we were developing. And that is what led to an organic flow of the exact clientele that we were wanting to attract. So now not only was our income increasing, we were attracting better clients that valued our expertise and paid more accordingly. So now we started to check off all of the boxes of the questions that we had originally asked ourselves before starting this journey, which is, what did we want from this business? We wanted clients that respected us. We wanted higher paying projects. We wanted things that actually made us excited. But there was still the other question of, how do we make more money? Because even though we were still making money, I think I was still working more than I wanted to. So that's when I decided it was time to start upselling. And what upselling does is allow you to increase the price of your projects. A lot of photographers default to licensing as a way to increasing their value, which, if you know what you're doing, licensing could be a great avenue. But if you're still struggling with your prices, then just simply find ways to add more value to your services to increase the amount you're getting per project. For example, we had a client find us through Instagram who wanted some content for social media in our studio. They asked if we worked with models, and at the time we didn't. But I actually went out of my way to create a proposal where I priced out how much it would cost to get a rental place, a model, and carry out this project. And we actually pitched a $9,000 lifestyle project to a client. And then while we were there on set, we captured a ton of extra content. And finally, at the end, upsold that extra content to increase the value of the project to $15,000. So we went from a non-existent project to pitching $9,000 to upselling it to $15,000. And that's something you cannot do unless you learn how to upsell. And ultimately, the key to this is to understand that your clients aren't just buying photos. they're buying solutions to problems in their business. And when you position your photography as a solution that sells more product, the price becomes secondary to your client. And though our business is doing successful now, I've always had an interest in YouTube and teaching. I was actually on YouTube years before I even thought about creating a photography business. So the natural next step for me was creating educational content. I realized that there is a huge gap in this market because the majority of photography content on YouTube simply tells you to become a better photographer and just charge what you're worth. But they completely neglect to explain and help you understand how the business side of things work. Adding value doesn't come from just taking better photos, it actually comes from the business side of your business. And with that initiative, I've helped hundreds of photographers earn more while working less over the past several years. See, I helped them realize that having a fully booked out schedule is not an indicator of a healthy business. It's actually an indicator that your rates need to go up and you need to start charging more. But fear of rejection is what stops a lot of people from taking that next step. But in reality, every rejection is one step closer to a better paying client. Think of it like this. You could have 5 clients with $1,000 projects each. So 5 of them would make $5,000. Or you could have 1 client that wants a $5,000 project. The amount of work that you have to do for both of these is significantly different because this is 5 different creative briefs, 5 different projects you're planning. Your head is all over the place, and this is why you're burnt out. Whereas if you have 1 client who has a $5,000 project, your head is only on 1 project. It leads to more efficiency, you are more happy, and you're able to put more energy into that 1 client. This gives you those better standout testimonials, those results that other brands are looking to hear. So remember, it's not about how many clients you bring in, it's the quality of clients you bring in. Working less while earning more should be your ultimate goal. Now that you've heard my story, you're probably wondering if you can create the same transformation in your photography business. The answer is you absolutely can, but trying to do it all on your own is going to take years of expensive trial and error, just like it did for us. You're going to face challenges like not knowing how to properly position yourself to your dream premium clients, getting ghosted after sending proposal after proposal, being talented at photography but not fully understanding how to turn it into a profitable business. And that's exactly why we created our full-time product photographer system, to help photographers who already know how to take good photos build a real business by mastering pitching, pricing, and client systems. This isn't a course on how to take better photos. That comes naturally with experience. With this, you'll get access to our proven systems and pitching frameworks that have helped our students land $2,000 to $10,000 projects within the first 30 to 90 days. If you're ready to stop undercharging, stop getting ghosted, and start building a photography business that supports your lifestyle, click the first link in the description to learn more. Make sure you like and subscribe if you found this video helpful, and click here to watch our full course on how to start a product photography business from scratch. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.